Mr. Chairman, and again, thank you to our witnesses. In Delaware, I was fortunate to serve as Secretary of Labor. And so for me, the whole issue of jobs and people being able to live their purpose and get a great skill is vital. And so I was pleased to hear that we are shifting and people's perceptions of what great jobs are is really a focus right now. Love the focus on the trades, manufacturing, and as former Secretary of Labor, I want to emphasize how critical our maritime and shipbuilding workforce is for our industrial base. Without the skilled men and women in these trades, we can't build the ships, maintain the fleets, or sustain our competitiveness on the global stage. It's interesting, as I was sitting here, my sister, who's kind of like the family historian, sent me a document from our great-grandfather who actually worked at the Philly Navy Yard. And the document actually, Matthew Miller, World War I registration, and he was Merchant and Miners Pier 24 on Delaware Avenue. And so, again, I really appreciate the focus on the future of this country and our security. And I want to ask you, Ms. Snow, not that most of us here are older, but you seem to come from a younger generation. If you could talk about younger generation industry leaders who are looking at recruitment and engagement in a different way than in 1902 when my grandfather got the opportunity. Are current training and apprenticeship programs keeping pace with what the workforce needs are?
I don't think so. Thank you for the question. I think that there could be a lot more investment in trade programs and trainings and also apprenticeships. A lot of businesses can't afford to hire people just to teach and not be on their workforce as well. And so investment in the ability for a company to have their own internal apprenticeship program would really expedite the process of getting trade skills into our work.
If any of the other members want to answer the question about apprenticeships or workforce, be happy to hear.
Yes, Senator. I would say it's a badge of honor that a lot of our shipyards, at their own expense, implement apprenticeship programs with no guarantee at the end of it that they'll employ that person. That highly competitive market for shipyard employees, and so that apprenticeship program could see that person going elsewhere. Highly trainable, highly hireable, I should say. And we do this on a regional basis. We work with our community colleges, we work with our trade schools, and I think it was said earlier, there is a focus now on, it's not necessary to get that 4-year degree, go to trade schools.
Thank you. Dr. Mercogliano, you've written extensively about how the U.S. maritime sector depends on foreign supply chains for key components and materials. What vulnerabilities stand out to you most in our current U.S. shipbuilding supply chain? And what steps could the federal government take to build more secure domestic source base? I'm fortunate to work with Senator Cantwell and Blackburn on strengthening our supply chains, and so would love to hear from you on that.
Well, I would defer to Matt, be able to talk to that in a little bit more detail. I can say that my conversations with shipbuilders and looking at the supply chain is we've seen continual disruptions across the supply chain recently. In particularly, obviously, steel and more importantly, specific manufactured parts and specialized parts in shipping is the key that we see vulnerabilities happening. Right now, if you look, for example, anything from pumps to machinery, our supply chain in the United States is very vulnerable. They're down to sometimes one small manufacturer that is building parts for both commercial and naval vessels. And we've seen that down to the third level, below the shipyards, below their suppliers. And so that creates a lot of vulnerability, which means if we can't produce it in-house in the United States, we've got to source it from overseas. And the disruptions we're seeing in the global supply chain and competition for those resources by other shipbuilders out there, Japan, Korea, and particularly China, makes it very vulnerable for us. And it's one of the reasons why you'll hear my associates here talk about creating those infrastructures here in the United States and not be depending on those foreign sources.
I know I have 8 seconds left, but again, I thank you so much for taking the time, and I will follow up with many of you questions for the record. Thank you. I yield back.
Thank you. We now have our chairman, and I'd like to let him